welcome to today's class. Again, my name is Faisal Al Hassan, and today's class we are going to continue to practice our listening and speaking skills. And two of the most important skills for any language learner to have, as we've mentioned in a previous lesson. Yeah, so again, as we go into this lesson, our objectives are to develop good listening and speaking skills. However, in today's lesson, we are going to focus more on developing speaking skills. So we are going to speak more, right, compared to the previous lesson. And again, we will hope to acquire some new vocabulary by the end of the lesson. Yes, if you recall in the previous lesson, we listened to an audio of a conversation, of a dialogue that supposedly occurred at a restaurant. Yes, we listened to some of the things that you typically expect to hear in that setting. We transcribed that conversation, then we read and we prepared and we came forth and then role played for that setting, able to practice saying some of those things. And this is one of the strategies you can use to improve your speaking skills. Yes, if you are going into a conversation, you can anticipate some of the things that you would have to say and write a few things down and then practice before you go into that conversation. So it's one of the strategies you can use. However, it's not always going to be possible. Sometimes you're going to have to go into a conversation without knowing anything that how to anything without being able to plan. And that is our target for today's activities. We are going to put ourselves in different settings, in different scenarios where we are going to have to speak. So for some time for some time we'll try to forget that we are in a classroom. Then imagine ourselves in those settings and then we'll speak. Just open our mouths and speak. Yes, it can be a bit scary if you are going to have to speak for the first time, but this is how you get to practice. Yes, so play out different settings, and this time you will speak with me instead of your colleagues. So I'll assume the role of a native speaker at, for example, perhaps at the restaurant, I'll be your waiter. And then you will have to speak to me. But we're not going to act out only in a restaurant setting, but not even in a restaurant setting, because that was for the previous class. Excuse me. So we are going to act out different settings. For example, you can act out let's see, perhaps you are a stranger and you are looking for directions and you ask a native speaker, or a native speaker asks you for directions. Are you going to be able to speak to them? Yeah, so play these various settings in class today. Yes, it is a good way for us to get to practice speaking before we find ourselves in those actual scenarios. Yes, so hopefully by the end of this lesson, we would be able to speak, in addition to listening, because before you speak, you have to listen. And as we go along, we'll hopefully come across new words and new words to add to our vocabulary, as well as to learn some reduced and connected forms of speech. Yes. So before we kick things off, any questions somebody likes for me to address? Any questions? Any concerns? Any contributions before we start? Yes, George. Absolutely. No, you are going to be just fine. Yeah. Anybody else? All right. So let's begin by, as we usually do, taking a look at the screen there. You have this time you have different images. Again, if you'd like to view these images on your phones, go to your class WhatsApp page and you have those pictures up there. You can download them and then you can view them on your phones. However, they are on your screens, if that is okay with you. So we are going to take some few minutes to look at the picture, at the images, what we're seeing, what we think is happening in those images, and how we came to those conclusions. As you view them, you can discuss with your colleagues. In fact, I encourage you to share ideas with your colleagues. Listen to what they have to say and tell them what you also have to say. So let's do this in about 5 minutes tops. Right then, 5 minutes are up. Let's hear what you have to say. Yeah, let's start with you, Karen. First image, what do you think? Or rather, what do you see? Alright, he says he sees a doctor and a patient in a doctor's office. How can you tell that that's a doctor? Okay, so he's wearing what doctors usually wear, their white jackets, and then he says the man also has what's the name of that device? Stethoscope, right? Stethoscope around his neck, so that should make him a doctor. Do you agree? Yes. How do you know that that's a patient? Alright, so we just have to assume, because there's nothing pointing out, that that's actually a patient. Again, how do you know that that's the doctor's office? Yes. You agree with that? I think that is quite obvious from the background. We can tell clearly that that's a doctor's office because of some of the images he has on his walls and some of the models and whatnot. Yeah, so I think that is quite accurate on the part of Karim and Salim, right? Yes. What about the next image? Chandra, would you like to share your thoughts? It's at a bank. Why do you see that's a bank? Okay, so that is how banks look. So you have tellers behind counters and then customers in front of them during a transaction. Okay, nice observation there, Sandra. Third image, yes, who would like to give that a go? George. Okay, so it looks quite obvious enough. We have a shopkeeper and a customer. Yes, how do you know that's a shopkeeper? Once again, he's behind the counter, and you have things there that makes it obviously a shop. And then the other would assume that they are the customer, and then they are going to pay out their purchases. Yes, that's keen observations and then contributions from all of you. I'm happy that nobody said, I think the same as somebody. Whatever you think, I'd like for you to hear it in your own voices, and as much as possible would like to speak, right? And the more you speak, the better you become at the language.